Hey guys, Flamingo here, back with a complete class overview of the brand new elite specialization for the Mesmer, the Virtuoso. So in this video I'm going to go through all of the skills, the new weapon, all of the stuff we know so far. We basically have everything but the trait lines, so I'm going to go through all of that in detail for you guys. Before I get started, I just wanted to remind you that Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons is going to be released in February of next year, so only a few months left. And if you do want to pre-purchase it already, you can, and you'll receive some in-game items straight away, which you can use to show off your loyalty and that you're going to be playing the expansion very soon. So if you do want to pre-purchase the expansion, then there's a link in the description below this video, and if you click that and order it, it will help support the channel and it's much appreciated. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the Virtuoso is the third elite specialization for the Mesmer, and it's going to be released in the End of Dragons expansion. It features a complete overhaul of the base Mesmer mechanics. It's going to replace your clones with blades that build up as you use abilities, and then you can spend those blades using one of the new Blade Song abilities, which replaces the better known Shatter skills. The new weapon is going to be a main hand dagger, and there's a few obviously new weapon skills for that, and the new utility elite and healing skills are psionic abilities with some really cool animations. So I'm really looking forward to going through all of this for you guys. So first thing we're going to do is have a look at the weapon skills. Okay, so as we've already said, the new weapon for the Virtuoso is the main hand dagger. So that's going to give us 3 new weapon skills to play with. So let's have a look at each of those now. So the first weapon skill for the dagger is called Flying Cutter, and just to clarify, the main hand dagger for the Mesmer is actually a ranged weapon, so you won't actually be having to go to melee range to use these skills. So it's not actually a chain ability like you're probably used to seeing, but what it does do is it sends a blade of energy at your target. Hitting the same target multiple times invokes a flurry of blades on your target. So you see it's gonna shoot out 3 separate daggers. It's going to do some damage, and if it hits them the 3 times, it's going to cause a flurry, which is going to do a bunch more damage. So you want to try and make sure you hit them multiple times. It can hit up to 5 targets, which is great. And where it says blade there, that actually links in with the professional mechanics we'll talk about in a bit. But that basically, like a clone, it now gives you a blade, so that will allow you to use some other abilities, so that's good, so look out for that. It also pierces, and it's got a range of 1200. So let's try this out now. So here we go, we send out 3 there, and you can see it causes a flurry there with the 3rd one, just as I do that, so that's pretty cool. So the second weapon ability for the dagger is called Blade Call, and has a 5-second cooldown. So throw a fan of daggers that return to you. Stock a blade if this attack hits at least 1 target. So so you're going to throw a bunch of daggers. You can see it's going to do a decent amount of damage. You're going to throw 3 daggers, can hit up to 5 targets. It pierces, and you're going to stock a blade, which, like I said, goes towards your professional mechanic if it hits at least 1 target. Obviously, if it doesn't hit at least 1 target, then you sort of failed in using this ability anyway. So that's pretty good. And as usual there, so range 1200 again, so we use it from quite far away. So let's give this a go. Okay, so right, we shoot it out there and it bounces back, and you can see there's now a dagger above our head. Let's try it one more time. Really cool animation, bounces off the back wall there, comes back, hits the enemy again. So for the 3rd and final weapon ability for the Virtuoso, unfortunately we weren't actually able to see the tooltip. It's the only one of the skills that I wasn't able to get a screenshot of the tooltip. So just to let you know, it's called Unstable Blade Storm. Obviously we can see from the demonstrations that it sends out sort of a whirlwind of storms which hits someone and then shoots out to nearby enemies. Obviously I can't give you all of the breakdown and details, but it seems like a really powerful ability, and to be fair, the animation is worth it anyway. So let's just have a look at that right now. So here we go, target the enemy, cast it, so a big whirlwind of blades there, and it seems that I believe it either shoots it out as it hits the enemy, or just before it shoots out to all nearby enemies. So that's a really cool skill to add to your list. So that's all of the weapon skills for the Virtuoso. So now we're going to have a look at the brand new healing skill. Alright, so we've got our first look at one of the new psionic abilities for the Virtuoso, and it's a pretty cool healing skill to be fair. It's called Twin Blade Restoration, and it's got a 20-second cooldown. So heal yourself and throw 2 blades at your target. If the first blade hits, you lose conditions. If the second blade hits, you gain Aegis and 1 additional random boon. So you can see you've got a decent chunk heal, which is obviously what you want. With a 20-second cooldown, it's pretty efficient to be fair, so that on its own is good. But yeah, you're going to throw out a couple of blades. You can see it does 2 times damage there, so you want both of them to hit. Like we said, the first one you're going to be losing conditions, so remove 1 condition off yourself. You can target up to 1 enemy, and then if your second blade hits as well, you're going to get Aegis, so you block your next incoming attack, as well as a random boon as well. You can see regen, swiftness or vigor. So it's a really cool ability. It gives you a blade on your bar as well as it has 1200 range, so you can do it from pretty far away. So overall, really cool healing skill. So let's have a little look at this in action now. Alright, so target your enemy, use the skill. You can see, bam, shoot out a couple of daggers there. Got some positive effects because both of them hit. Show it one more time. So that's the really cool new healing skill. So the next thing we're going to have a look at are the brand new utility skills for the Virtuoso. Alright, so the first utility skill for the Virtuoso is Blade Renewal. So this is once again a psionic ability. It's got a 60-second cooldown, so that's quite long. But what it does is it channels to gain distortion and stock up to the maximum number of blades. So you can see distortion for 3 seconds, so immune to conditions and damage. So while you're channeling that, you're going to create up to 5 blades, which are just the little circles above your bar there, which you can utilise with your profession mechanic skills. So it's going to be able to bring all those back. So if you hold it and channel it for 3 seconds, you're going to bring 5 blades back. So you're going to be able to utilise all those abilities. So it's a really good skill actually to be able to utilise our other abilities, which we will be looking at shortly as well. So let's have a little look to see what this looks like. Alright, so just demonstrating Blade Renewal there. You can see it's 3 seconds of distortion. You can move around while you're doing it, and then just one more time and you can see the blades above your head afterwards. That's really awesome. So for our second utility skill, we have Rain of Swords, which has a 25-second cooldown, and this is a belter. You're going to like this one. So create a storm of blades that attacks a target area, damaging and applying vulnerability to targets. So it's a ground targeted ability. It's got a 240 radius and you can do it from 1200 away. Hits up to 5 targets and pulses 5 times. It does good amount of damage and inflicts vulnerability. So it's basically literally like it says in the title, it is a Rain of Swords. And let's have a look at what that looks like now. Okay, so target it, put it on top of this poor golem's head, and the Rain of Swords begins. As you can see, big damage, really good if you've obviously got a group of enemies all bunched together. Dump this on top of their head, and it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of damage. So for our third utility skill, we have Sword of Decimation, which has a 25-second cooldown. And similar to the last skill, it's actually a ground targeted ability with a 240 radius and a range of 1200, so the same for that. But instead of lasting for about 5 seconds, this one's pretty quick, does a big chunk of damage. So drop a massive blade on a location, immobilizing enemies. This attack deals increased damage against controlled and downed foes. So obviously it's going to immobilize the enemy, which is great. 4 seconds unable to move. So you're going to want to put this on top of an enemy if they're coming towards you. But also if they are under controlled effect or downed, because it's going to do more damage. You can see there it's actually a damage increase of 100% as well. So it's definitely worth considering, and hopefully we'll have some other skills that we can link it with to make sure we maximize that damage. So let's have a look at this ability. Alright, so once again let's target this golem here, and you can see a big crash there, and if you have a look, it immobilized the enemy as we said as well. So there you go, got that extra effect, which is good. So with the fourth and final utility skill, you can see that they almost got away without showing us the tooltip, but I've just got a screenshot here where I can just about make out most of it. So it's called Psychic Force and has a 45-second cooldown. So it's knock back nearby foes with a Psychonic Blade and gain boons. So we can see there, I think you've got Fury, you've got Might, does a bit of damage, knocks down the enemy. You can't see the range, but I assume it's probably about 600 or something like that. But it's a pretty cool skill, so it's going to be good to keep enemies away from you. So if they're coming towards you but you want to carry on attacking them from range, you can use this to knock them back and also give yourself Fury and Might, so you can be doing a bit more damage as well. So let's have a look at what this looks like. Okay, so we're going to target this enemy, get up close to them, and there you go. So creates like a spinning field around you and knocks back those enemies. So it's a really cool animation there to go along with it. So that is all of the utility skills for the Virtuoso. So now we're going to have a look at the new and exclusive Elite skill. Alright, so the Elite skill for the Virtuoso is called 1000 Cuts and has a 75-second cooldown. So this is an elite psionic ability, and it opens a portal that devastates targets in a line in front of you with a flurry of blades. So yeah, it creates a portal in front of you, and it acts almost like a cone ability in that it shoots directly in front of you. So you do need to make sure that you line this up correctly and hopefully have multiple targets, because it can hit up to 5 targets. Obviously does a lot of damage, but you want to try and hit as many as possible to maximize that. So a big group of enemies who are standing relatively still is what you want to do. Lasts for 3 seconds. There's a half-second interval in which it does a chunk of damage. It creates a blade, and it has a range of 1200. So you don't have to be right up next to them to do it. You just have to be in line. So let's have a little look to see how this one plays out. Okay, so you have to target it on the floor like that. Choose the direction it wants to go in, and you can see it starts shooting it out, shooting out these blades. Really cool ability there. Obviously you can only use it every 75 seconds, but it is an elite skill, so it does a lot of damage. So you'll be utilising that hopefully against bosses and their ads and stuff like that when they're all bunched together. So that's the new elite skill for the Virtuoso. So now we're just going to have a little look at the overall profession mechanics. So the Mesmer's base profession mechanics have had a massive overhaul with the Virtuoso. We've touched on it briefly already, but as you can see you've got blades there above your bar, and they replace your normal clones that you would have. So although phantasms still work in the same way, so that they'll do the initial effect, at the end of it, instead of turning into clones, they will turn into blades, and any clone abilities will obviously create blades. So it is a major difference. It works in sort of the same way that, you know, you create these blades, and then these blades you can spend them. Instead of the normal shatter abilities for your F1 to F4, they're replaced with blade song abilities, which we're going to go through one by one in a minute to show you what effects they actually have. And obviously the more blades you've got, you know, you can spend them and you have a more powerful blade song ability. So it's pretty cool. It's quite different. Obviously the main difference is that you're not confusing your enemies with clones and stuff like that. So that might be a bit of a downside in PvP, because that can obviously be quite useful. So the blades won't be able to be targeted like clones can. But hopefully if we look at these blade song abilities now, they'll make up for it by being really good. So let's have a look. So our first profession ability here is Blade Song Harmony. And this is fire all stocked blades at your target and has a 12-second cooldown. So obviously this is going to do damage. It's pretty basic, so this is just going to fire the blades that you've got around you at the enemy. Obviously you can have up to 5 blades, so the more blades you have, it's going to use them and it's going to hit them that many times. You can see that it can hit up to 5 targets as well, and it's from a range of 1200. So let's check this one out. So obviously F1 to activate it. Bang bang. So we had 2 blades active, so you can see it shoots 2, but obviously 5 will do even more damage. Okay, so the second profession skill swaps out straight damage for a little bit of condition damage. So it's called a Blade Song Sorrow, and it's got a 25-second cooldown. So fire a volley of blades inflicting your target with conditions. So obviously it's going to shoot more blades depending on how many you've got on your bar. It's going to do a decent amount of damage, but it's also going to inflict conditions on the enemy. So you can see it's showing its confusion there. So damage and damage on skill use. Can hit up to 5 enemies, and also from long range. So let's try this out. Okay, so use our F2 here. Bang, you can see it's put multiple conditions on the enemy. It has a really cool animation as well. Alright, so our next profession skill is Blade Song Dissonance, and this has a 38-second cooldown. So combine all your blades into one large blade that dazes targets based on the number of blades consumed. Yeah, I did say blade a lot there. So it does a decent amount of damage. Obviously puts them all together, so 5 blades being the maximum, 1 being the least, so the more blades you got the better. And it's going to shoot that at the enemy. It's only going to hit one enemy, but it is from long range, and that will daze the enemy. And obviously the more blades you have, the better that effect is going to be. So let's have a look at that now. Okay, so there we go. Really cool animation there. Shoots out that massive blade, and obviously dazes the target, as you can see. So that's a really good option as well. So your fourth and final profession ability, taking up your F4 slot here, is Blade Turn Requiem, and this has a 30-second cooldown. So block incoming attacks and send your blades spinning around you to hit nearby foes. Spinning blade duration scales with the number of blades consumed. So you can see the block duration is 3 seconds, which is really cool. Number of targets you can hit up to 5, and it attacks all enemies in a radius of 240 around you. So this is probably my favourite of these skills. It's going to do a decent amount of damage, like I said. It lasts longer. The blade duration scales with the number of blades consumed as well. So if you do it with 5 blades, which we're going to demonstrate now, it'll be even better. So let's have a quick look. Okay, so use your F4 with 5 blades, and as you can see, creates an awesome shield around yourself, and then for a few seconds afterwards, you're going to be spinning around there and attacking people with your blades. So that's a really cool ability there, which is going to help make your Virtuoso even more powerful. So that is everything we know so far about the Virtuoso. I hope it was helpful. I'll obviously be back soon with all of the new information as and when it comes out. As well as all of the other professions when the elite specs are announced. So thanks for watching, like and subscribe to be kept up to date, and I will see you later.